Hello, welcome to the podcast. Today in relationships, I want to talk about keeping your love alive. This is so important because if you don't keep it alive, it'll just kind of dissipate and be neglected, and you'll find it starts to impact on your actual relationship. You love each other. You might love each other a lot. You might love each other a medium amount. Everyone's really different, but you still love each other. And I think it's really important that you focus on the love, particularly when things are tough. That's the way you're going to find your nourishment from, to focus on the love and to invest in your relationship. And keeping your love alive is an active thing. You have to be doing things. You can't just say, "Oh, I love you," and think that kind of covers it. Of course, it's very lovely to say that. You have to do the actions because in our life, we're always moving and doing things, and humans are, by their very nature, active people. Therefore, if you want the love to stay alive, you have to show love and how it manifests in your relationship. It will take time and effort and priority to keep it alive. You have to keep putting it in front of everything, and that's what I want you to think of. Just think of it like you're just putting it in front of work, you're just putting it in front of the family, you're putting it in front of the kids. You're actually putting it in front of your problems. So when you go out for a lovely romantic dinner, you make a conscious decision not to talk about all the problems. You talk about your visions and what you want to do later and what your goals are. But don't just focus on all the negative when you go out, because then you're not really focusing on your relationship and the love. It's important too, from the point of view of being nourished, that we need to keep our love alive so we're nourishing one another, because that's what we want to do. We want to nourish each other. And by doing sweet and kind and loving things for one another, the nourishment keeps happening and it keeps the fire burning really strong. You see in couples where it's working, they're very attentive to one another. Not in a smothering way, but attentive. And you'll see that they'll be at the party and they'll come across and see if the person's got a drink or how they're going, and then they might flip off for a while. There's like an attention that's given to the other person, and then you give it back to them. And it's this attention that keeps the love in focus. When people start to be less attentive in the relationship and make the focus everything else, and that kind of puts it on level 4 or 5, that's when you'll find you really start to have problems in your relationship. And that's why you just got to get active now. It's no good just talking about it. You can't just be talking about it. You've actually got to start doing things. For example, you have to plan to spend more time together and quality time. When you're together, you need to really be focused on each other, switch the phones off, do everything else, switch it all off, and just be focused on each other. You need to be setting up activities that you both like to do and are fun for you, and you enjoy to be there with each other and doing these various activities. You need to also be coming from love, being tolerant with them, being forgiving, showing compassion if your partner's upset, listening. These are all the expressions of love. I know this podcast sounds like everything that's so obvious, and in a way it is, but once you start going into the deeper parts of the relationship, it's really, really easy sort of to think, oh, it's running okay, it's fine, and just not do anything. And I see this happen all the time where people just don't do thoughtful, kind things for each other, and they're not putting the relationship as a priority. This is the person that you've chosen to be with at this time in your life, who is the most important person in your life from a romantic point of view. I'm not saying it supersedes your children or your family. We're not doing it in an order. We're just saying that in the romantic way, this is the most important person and you are the most important person for them. And that's where you need to put your effort, in the romance. Because that's what you have. You have a love and you have romance. And you also need to try and work on that. Be more romantic, do more romantic things together, whatever that means for you. And also really give single focus to that person. A lot of the time, the love kind of loses its magic because when people don't give us attention and don't listen to us and don't use eye contact, we start to feel neglected and rejected sometimes. And even though they're not really doing that, because we're not the priority in what they're doing, they're not really listening to us now, even though we really wanted to say something, then that starts to make a deterioration in the relationship. Added to that, you've also got that you've been together a bit now, so you actually probably had a few little fights. You might have hurt the other person's feelings. There's some disappointment there, and you maybe have expectations that they perhaps didn't meet. And that's the thing, you need to let that go now. They're not the perfect person, but the magic of your love is pretty perfect. And that's where you've got to focus. You're not in love with someone who's love model of the year. You're in love with a human person who's got all their things they do and all the mistakes they make. And love is really quite wonderful because, especially unconditional love, because even if you mess up, the person still loves you, they don't withdraw it. Try to make more effort, try to make more time, try to talk about the magic of your relationship, try to bring back the intimacy, and I mean that physically and emotionally, especially that's going to make a nice, big, strong foundation for you. Because if you are kissing, touching, hugging, spending time in the bedroom a lot, you're going to find that makes a strong connection for you, and that will keep the magic alive. Because we are humans and we are physical beings, and so we need the physicality. And that's also why we need to be like in the same room together or talking to each other or actually spending time together. That's what keeps the love alive. You have found love. How wonderful is that? Not everyone finds love, actually. That's what I've noticed. I've got people I know who never found true love. You have found it, but you can't just take it for granted. You're going to have to keep it alive and keep the magic there and keep doing surprises for them and special things that you do and thoughtfulness and consideration, and try and do some little special trips or something away, because the magic is there. It's just that it needs to be ignited. You need to keep that fire burning, that passion that you have for each other, that love you have for each other. And that's only going to happen if you are present and if you're making effort. Because once you start becoming neglectful in this area, the person will feel it and the magic will actually dwindle and diminish. And then it's going to be much harder for you to bring it back. So it's like a daily thing. Every day, do something, say something lovely to them. Every day, tell them that you love them. Do something loving for them, and show your love in physical expression by giving them a hug in the kitchen, chase them around the house, and have a big kiss on the bed. You need to bring the fun back and the life back and the enjoyment. And then talk to them also. Spend time every day with your partner. Actually stop everything, switch everything off and be together. Even if it's only a half an hour we're together, do that. Because people are very happy to sit on their phones for like 1.5 hours looking at Facebook or TikTok while they're sitting with their partner who's actually on their computer checking up something else or buying something on the internet. They're quite happy to spend that time, but you need to take your time and allocate it differently now. That the person is your priority and you give it time and effort and retain the magic. And that way you are actually, it's like insurance. I call it love insurance, because you're ensuring that it's kept running, that it's not being neglected, that you're together a lot, and you keep those cords between you, those strong connections strong. And that's what's going to get you through. And that's also where the magic runs. It runs backwards and forwards on these cords of love. And you want to keep those cords strong. You don't want to let them start to wither away because you'll lose it. I've talked to people who've actually lost it. They used to be so in love with someone and now they're not. And that's been because of neglect, I think, but also because they can't get over some things that have happened. A person might have hurt them in a fight or something and they just can't let it go. And also there's always some power stuff going on there between the two people. They've had some power struggles about a few things, money or the house or the children. All of these things will eventually start to affect the magic, the love magic. And the other thing is that they don't do is come from love anymore. Because a few times when I've spoken to people who are in this situation and I've said to them, you need to come from love. If you want to get it back, you've got to come from love. all the time with them now because you're actually not coming from love, because you're mad with them or angry, or you're hurt, or you can't be bothered, or you're not making an effort. If you come from love, that's the best thing you can do to try and maintain the magic. Because when we come from love, it's actually a feeling, like it's an energy, and it will actually ensure that your relationship keeps the magic and keeps the love. So invest. Don't let it go, because once you lose the magic, it's actually quite a lot of work to kind of get it back. You can get it back though, I really believe that, but you have to do it differently. You can't come from power and control and resentment and bitterness and unresolved anger. You need to sort that out and forgive it all and let it go, and then keep coming from love with that person, because in the end love will heal your relationship, but it has to be an act of love. It can't just be you say I love you once a fortnight. So I'll leave it with you. If you have had magic and you're still got some but it's dwindling, work on it, because it's not something you can just make between people. It's like a synergy and it's unique. And if you have it, try and see if you can retain it or make it bigger, because it's actually quite hard to find magic, the magic of love, and to keep it going. But I usually think it's to do with not prioritizing the love relationship and power and control issues coming in, and unresolved bad emotions and neglect. Neglect will do it every single time. So stop neglecting your relationship and start putting in that love magic. So I'm wishing you lots of love, obviously, and lots of love magic this week, and do some love insurance, because it's really worth it. Because breakdown in a relationship is pretty devastating, and you don't want to go down that path, because often when the relationship's breaking down, you can't make it work, it doesn't mean you don't love them anymore. And so you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life, that you're not together and you still love that person. So it's better to be together and make the effort and not let it fall apart. Off you go and do your love magic week, and I hope this podcast has helped you. I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light.